Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I've got a couple of parts that I'm hoping to install. I'm not sure if I'll get finished today, but definitely going to start it out. So first off, I've got this gauge surround with the dual pods molded in. This is made by Custom Gauge Surrounds Australia. So it's the factory piece for the dash. So it has all clips, so it will just go straight back in, but he's actually molded in 2 gauge pods and left a little hole there for me to run the wiring through. So I already have my wideband gauge in the car, which is an AEM X series. So I've since got this AEM X series boost gauge. I got this one for Christmas, just as I already had this piece sitting here. So I was trying to get this one painted the factory colour. I've been having a lot of trouble actually finding a shop that wants to basically attempt to do that for me. So I've given up and I'm just going to paint it today with this vinyl and fabric paint that I've used on the pillars and some of the lights and handles in the roof. So it's not going to be the same colour as the rest of the dash it connects to, but hopefully it's not too noticeable. It'll do for now. If I can find someone who wants to paint this piece the actual sort of dash colour in the future, I will take it back out, but for now I just want to kind of get it installed and have a boost gauge finally. And I also picked up this plug and play adapter for the fuse from AK Racing yesterday. So this is made by Clubspec Chicago Customs. So this, for someone who has no idea what they're doing with wiring gauges, this should make it a lot easier for me. So I may just run all the wiring up, try and connect it up myself, but if I can't get the gauge to actually light up and work, then I'll just put this piece in with the gauge in there, and I will just let someone give me a hand, a mate give me a hand who's put gauges in before, just to get the wiring part done. But at least this, with a plug and play adapter in the spare fuse slot, should be a bit neater and work well. So start off, I'll get a coat of paint. Okay, so we give it a quick clean, we've wiped it down, it's all dry, ready for paint. Just going to paint in this styrofoam box and put a lid over it between coats. So here's the paint, and let's give the first light coat. That'll do for the first one. Okay guys, so while I'm waiting for the paint to dry on that, I just started pulling some of the interior out so I can work out where I'm going to run the wiring. So I pulled the glove box out, you just open it, squeeze it, it'll drop down the rest of the way, pull it out. Then I pulled this one out. So yeah, this is just clipped in. So pulled that one. And then this one here. It's the same thing, just unclipped, but it did have this little plastic sort of screw holding it in the back corner, which is up here. So just make sure you undo that before you sort of start pulling this one out. So with those out of the way, let's see, we've got this little rubber grommet down here. So I think I'll be running the line through there. Okay guys, so here's my idea. So we're running it, remove this little grommet, running it through this line here. So what we need is this to go through Then we remove these 3 clips from the guard lining. These 3, and this rubber grommet in there. So over here, so we need that line to go out that hole and get it through there. And that is not easy to reach through and grab. I can only get one finger through a little hole. So my thinking is zip tied the end of it, then I've zip tied a bolt to the end of that. So I'm going to feed this through, try and aim it up towards that hole. Then I'm going to grab a magnetic sort of part dropper tool that when you drop a tool down your engine bay to fish out, and then poke it through. Hopefully I can grab the end of this and pull it through. So we'll see how we go. It's just an idea. Alright, so we made some progress, managed to get that through using the method I showed, which was a bolt zip tied to a zip tie, which was zip tied to the sensor. So yeah, that was a bit of a mission to get through. So we got that. I've put the vacuum line onto this, plug the sensor in, and following another video that I watched where the guy mounted this sensor up in here. So I'm going to go with that method too. Seems like it worked. So I'm just going to put a bit of tape around this and zip tie it in here, and then I want to feed the vacuum line up and come through. So I'll do that and I'll show you how it looks. Okay guys, so I've pulled the vacuum line up through the guard lining. I've tucked it down in here and I've got it there. So this is the one I'm thinking I'll connect it to. Goes to the intercooler piping inlet and the cob 3-port solenoid. So I'll splice, cut a hole here, connect either side of the boost tee and the other side into this one. So we have our boost tee connected. It's got a couple of zip ties on there and I'll trim those off later. Line running down. Then zip tied the sensor to this metal bracket here, fed the line back through a little hole in there. So now it's time to start pulling the dash apart. So we need to get the head unit out so we can get the factory pod out. So here's this one all painted up, ready to go. So we pull this one off, which I obviously already did. There's one screw there that you'll have to loosen. Then you'll get your screw that's holding this plastic piece on. And so that will only be one screw. It's one long piece, so you need to be really careful when you're pulling it off. You don't want to crack it in the middle. So I'll get to the other side so I could just more carefully use 2 hands to pull that off. Alright, so we've got that one off. Next we want to pull off this hazard button switch. So you've got 2 screws there, and then we'll grab the head unit out. So my head unit actually doesn't have any screws, it's just held in by this basically and clicked in, which it doesn't sit too well, but I haven't had any problems. Okay, so we'll get those 2 screws. We'll then pull the whole head unit out, so I'll just go around the other side of the car and do that. Okay, so I just unplugged the hazard button. I just lifted the whole unit out rather than unplugging everything. I'm just going to let it rest up there. Hopefully it stays still so that I can just put it straight back in when I need to. And one of the aircon vents decided to come out as I was doing that, so let's make sure we put that back in when we put the head unit back in. So now we want to get this piece out. That's what we're trying to get to. So we'll have to pull this lower dash panel out, this little one here, and this vent, just so then everything is loose that we can then pop this whole guy out. Alright, so we had 2 screws at the bottom of this panel, one either side. So then I pulled that off. Just going to leave that sitting with the plugs. Then we pull this piece off. No screws or anything, just unclips. And then pulled our aircon vent out, which just held in by clips. So I then put the steering wheel down as low as it'll go. I'm now going to try and pull this one. Alright, so we pulled this one off. Just had a couple of clips holding it. I had to undo the harness plug on the back of the info button so we can get the whole thing out. I'm now going to pull off this gloss black fascia cover, and I want to put that on the new one. Okay guys, so I have everything pulled out. I've got my wideband gauge plugs here. The boost one is here. I've fed the boost one across, through and up. The wideband was already installed over here in this little pod that I had. So one thing I couldn't find is how to get this info button off. I felt like I was going to break it pulling on it, but yeah, I tried to watch a few videos of people and couldn't see anything, but basically what I did was I just pushed the button in and just sort of pulled it one side and then the other, and it eventually came out, because we will need to reuse this in the new pod. So here's the pod. I've got the black fascia in there. I'll put the info button in now, and then I'm going to just double-sided tape the gauges on, and I'll then try and clip it in and plug the gauges in. Okay guys, so update, I have the pillar in. I've connected the wires both. Obviously I haven't wired up the boost gauge yet, but just to make sure that the wideband was still working after I've moved it around, which it is. And all these buttons, I'll have to close everything up, but yeah, the info button and the dimmer button / K kilometer counter reset button, both still working. It's all in there tight, so that's how it's going to look. Yeah, pretty happy with it. So now I can start putting everything dash wise back together. So yeah, I've got quite a bit of a mess here. So I'll start off just putting everything back on the driver's side. So the lower panels down here, the aircon vent and little trim piece, and this side piece I ended up taking off. So I'll start doing that. I have never wired a gauge up before, so I'm hoping I can get that done, but if not, I've at least got it in there and I have my wideband back working. So yeah, if I have to get someone to give me a hand sort of wiring that up, that's fine, at least I have the hard part done. But yeah, now to put everything back together. Alright, so I've got everything back together, all these panels, this one, the vent, the head unit's back in, and this strip. So now I just need to go to the passenger side and just sort of tidy up the wiring, see if I can get the gauge wired up and put those other panels down the side, and just close up the guard lining that I opened up to run the vacuum gauge, the vacuum line through. So maybe all as far as I'll get today, but to be honest, very happy with this. Just at least having the one gauge that I already had. And this one, if I can't get the wire up to working, definitely got a few mates who have done this before, but yeah, I've never installed a gauge before, so we'll see how we go. But yeah, just to give you an idea of how it looks very OEM style. The sticking up a little bit here, which I may need to play around with, but maybe once I give it a few presses it'll click in. But yeah, the colour isn't too far off, so I spent weeks trying to find someone who could kind of colour match it so it'd be the same as this, and I ended up just using the black spray paint from Super Cheap Auto, and yeah, it's not really too far off. I mean, I can barely tell the difference, and I know it's there, but if I was to let someone have a look, I'm not sure if they'd spot it straight away without me pointing it out. So it's a bit glossier, but yeah, very happy with it. Hey guys, so update, I've got it all finished. I put these interior panels back, and that's as far as I got yesterday, as it started to rain and I just wanted to finish it off for the night. So today we had our Queensland CJ Owners monthly car event, so didn't get the chance to finish it till I got home. So I've just got home and I've just finished it off. So what I did, you can see here this little plug, that's the Clubspec Chicago Customs plug and play adapter. So plug that into that empty spot there. Got this one behind this bolt here, and the yellow plug went into the red, so just connected those. And we'll just put the glove box back. Okay guys, so as you can see, everything is put back together. The glove box is back in. I have both the gauges here, so there you go, both starting up. So yeah, boost gauge is now working. Wideband was already working. Both are sitting in there nicely. We can put the warning button, as you see, with the 27.1 psi. I'll probably play around with that, put it down to 26 or so. And we'll start the car up. Just make sure I put the right map back in, so the E85 map. Turn that off. So our info button is working since we pulled that out and reconnected it. Our volume button, I guess you call it, down there is still working, so it's all good. Head unit, yep, still working. Torque Pro app on there. So yeah, that's everything's in, everything's working. So yeah, pretty happy with that. First time. Okay guys, so I ended up getting the gauge powered up and it's working. The problem is when I'm just sort of idling, it just sits at 0. It's not reading vacuum, and I don't think the boost is very accurate. So I'll go back a gear and let's try and hit some boost. Says that I read 15.7. I mean, I guess that would be probably right, that torque's not reading correct, but just the fact that it's not reading vacuum has me a bit worried. So let's see what the peak was. Okay, still 19.9. sure I must have done something wrong when I wired it up, but yeah, at least it's working for now. I can see what it looks like. I might get a mate to have a look at it for me, but yeah, it's all powered. As you can see, yeah, it's reading 0 there, sitting here idling. But yeah, happy enough with it for now, so I'll wrap the video up there and I'll update you guys once I get it fixed. Once I get someone to look at it who knows more about wiring and see what I've done wrong. But yeah, so that'll be it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. Probably not very helpful if you're trying to do the same yourself, because I had no idea what I was doing the whole time. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'll try and help you out. But yeah, if I can install this, then pretty much anyone can, because I had no idea. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.